Hey, so Shane, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. Today we're going to be speaking to Dr. Lucy Andrew about her popular fiction summer school at the end of June. But yeah, I thought we'd just find out how you've been. You been okay?
Yeah, I've been good. Working.
Always working.
Always working, man. Always working.
Yeah.
No, it's been good. Over the last couple of weeks with Father's Day and things like that. I've spent a lot of time with my kids. And obviously my birthday, which was not long after Father's Day.
I couldn't come out for that. I felt so bad.
It's alright, man. It's alright.
I was like, there's not enough beer tokens in the
There's never enough beer tokens.
Never enough beer tokens. So I couldn't come out, but I did buy you a T-shirt for the other show. No, it's nice for the biscuit, isn't it? Yeah.
Was it Biscuit one?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Because we now have T-shirts on tpublic.com.
We do. And if anybody's listening and they're interested in at least having a look, I mean, not everything is on the Facebook shop at the moment, but if you go through to TeePublic, all the merch is on there, and it's good quality as well. I mean, somebody bought a T-shirt from the other show, and we've had good reviews off that.
Well, I saw the picture of the actual T-shirt, and the prints are really good.
Are they?
They did, yeah. The quality of the prints, because like the logo for my other show, Thorskin, that I did because we're coming to our 100th episode on there, where I did like a celebratory sort of logo with the logo.
It looks smart, man.
Loads of
smart.
Yeah, it's like a tiled collection of all the images and the progress of the logo and things. So yeah, it looks really good, and like the quality of the print has come out really good. So it's just nice just to get recognised and stuff. We walk around with and also like we can rock up to events and not have to go. We are from the Shrewsbury Biscuit, I promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, well done for doing all that as well of the Facebook page, because it looks
getting there. It's getting there. It's going to take a bit of time. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I've had a busy week. I've been on holiday. We went to Wales. Went to Havant-y-Mor in Pwllheli.
You get there quite a lot, there, don't you?
I've been. I said to the wife, I don't want to go to Havant-y-Mor. I don't want to go there again. I've been there so many times, but this time I went there and I actually had a blast. It was really good.
Yeah.
We had a real good break in the weather. Yeah, because we had all that torrential rain for like 2 weeks or something. We had really bad rain, and then we got there. The morning we went on holiday, it was absolutely tearing down. I was like, oh, great, we're going to Wales and it's pouring down with rain. But by the time we got to rain, the sun came out, and we had a really good time. It was more like I found like watching my little boy enjoying himself.
Yeah,
I'm getting to that stage now where I'm just kind of can sit back and just watch him smile and enjoy himself. And
that's what it's all about, though, isn't it? Yeah, that's what you go for.
Yeah. And he got to go on stage as well, which is it melted my heart. They do this thing where like they do like auditions, and if you can dance, learn the choreography, you can join in with the crew, like just for the one night. And for this, kids needed to be 5 and upwards, and Timmy's 4, so we had to teach him that we're going to pretend to be 5. So I was practicing holding a pretend microphone going, hi, what's your name? And he'd go, Timmy. And I'd be like, how old are you, Timmy? And he'd be like, 4. I'd be like, no, you're 5. So yeah, we taught him to pretend to be 5. And then when it finished, it was like, you can be 4 again now. It was quite funny.
You flat out taught him how to lie.
Yeah.
He's going to use that against you when he wants to buy beer when he's older. You know that.
Yeah. Remember that time? But yeah, he did like an hour of choreography on that one morning, and an hour the next morning, and then they went straight into the show. And I put a video up on Facebook, and he was brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And then they pulled me up on stage, and they did this party game where you hold a foam pie, a shaving foam pie. There's like a load of us in a row. You got to hold it, and while the music's playing, you got to spin around and pass the plate on, spin around, pass the plate on. But the woman on the decks, or that was running it, she thought it was funny to just keep landing the music on me. So I got 3 pie faces in consecutively, and it was quite funny. Yeah, it was a good time. And then I come back and
so you weren't Mr. Aquafun this time?
No, I was Mr. Pie Face. No, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, we got Dr. Lucy Andrew coming in a bit. We're going to be talking about popular fiction, and it's everywhere, isn't it? Popular fiction.
Yeah.
I want to find out, kind of the importance of it all, and where it kind of leads to. Because I mean, look at things like Twilight and
Harry Potter and stuff. It's reaching out more, I think, nowadays, especially because I think there's a lot more platforms for it to go out on. Like, you have your audiobooks right way through to films, TV series. You got
blogs, even
blogs,
creative
YouTube.
blogs.
YouTube's a massive one. So you got these. You have large. I say large. You have very sort of famous not podcasters. Video creators and that kind of stuff on YouTube and stuff, and they're into it, and because they have a following, then that knocks on, and then and it spreads like wildfire. And I think that I think kids should be into it, man. I don't think we should stop kids being into fiction.
No, I think you're right. And we were talking about this in Comics Salopia. Like, when you pick something that's popular already, like a book that's popular, or a comic book that's popular, or a blog even, whatever, it's already got an audience base. So as soon as you're like, oh, we're going to make a TV series of this, or we're going to throw it on Netflix, or we're going to create a movie, the audience is already there. So you never know. If you take your creative process and put it onto a piece of paper and write, it could be worth something someday. And, it's the same with the podcast. We were talking about the merchandise and things. Somebody from the other show in America, they're buying our T-shirts in America, the things that we designed. And just that alone, just like, even if it's like 2 or 3 people walking around with like Thorskin T-shirts or Shrewsbury Biscuit T-shirts, it's like, it's so inspiring. We put that together, and it's the same with everything. So I'm really happy to be speaking to her. What we'll do is we'll wait for her to get here, and this is going to be Dr. Lucy Andrew. Next week we've got the mayor, Phil Gillam, coming on. I'm looking forward to chatting to him. I spoke to him at Comics Salopia. He's a big fan of the show. He listens in, and that's really nice. Phil Gillam, he's a great guy. I've learned a lot from him, and I think it was like his first week into his mayorhood, and I was kind of like, "How's it going?" He's like, "It's a lot. It's a lot, man. I do like 2 events a day," and he was a bit shell shocked.
I suppose I'll be quite interested to talk to him, because the general public, I think, on the whole, don't really know what a mayor does. I don't, apart from appearing at random places and doing the mayor bit, you don't really see what kind of goes on behind closed doors. Do you know what I mean? Like, what he actually does on a daily basis. So it'd be interesting to actually talk to him and hopefully get a bit of a scoop on what mayorhood actually is. Especially if he is that busy that when he took it on, it was like a smack in the face. It'll be quite interesting to find out exactly what that entails, really.
Yeah. And for the listeners that enjoyed our coverage of the Darwin Festival as well, we've been included in the planning process for the Darwin Festival, so it looks like we're going to be very much taking a good role in the next Darwin Festival as well, 2020. So I look forward to that. That'd be really good. And yeah, like Shane says, he's created this store. If you want to buy a mug with the Shrewsbury Biscuit logo on, it's a great design logo. The guy that designed the logo is a great guy. Put a lot of hard work.
He's a beautiful man.
He's a beautiful man. He's got a great voice. Make sure you check out the links on our. We're gonna have as you go onto our Facebook page, there is a store button at the top, a tab. Click that, and you get access to everything there. Or just go on to tpublic.com, type in the Shrewsbury Biscuit.
I mean, you have to keep an eye on the Facebook page on that shop section, because as we move forward, we're going to obviously add more and more merch with more and more different designs. And also, if anybody out there who's listening has an idea for a merch or has an idea for a product that you would like to see the design printed on, then let us know.
Or if you're a design buff yourself and you want to design or something, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Hit us up. And as always, we're actually, I suppose, might as well plug it. If there's any sponsors out there that wants to sponsor us and we can come to some sort of arrangement, then drop us an email or send the Facebook page a message, or message me or Al. And we'd love to have a chat with you and see what we can do. Because, I mean, obviously with sponsorship, we can then get better merch and more merch,
any money that we make from the show is going to go straight back into the show. So that means like maintaining the equipment, because You know, I'm sitting looking at this really battered old microphone cable going to it's an SM58 microphone, but it's an old battered thing. We like to keep things going. These mic stands that I use are really cheap. I remember I turned up to do the Comic Salopia Slobber Knocker, and Dan Berry was there, who does a podcast. He's local as well. He had all this really Gucci kit, and I was like, "Do you not want to use mine?" And he looked at it, and he was like,
No.
You're okay.
No. That's a no from me.
I do have an idea for sponsorship, but I don't want to, go on about that just too yet. It's too early.
You know what? Even if there is a local small printing company or something like that would like to donate a little bit of
I would like to use a local company to create our t-shirts. I don't want to just use TeePublic. So because we stretch for money, I can't buy t-shirts at the moment. So if we can move away from TeePublic by using
support a local
t-shirt designer, that'd be really good. So anyway, we've been rambling on for a bit.
Should be here shortly anyway.
Yeah, should be here in a second. So the next thing you're going to hear is Dr. Lucy Andrew, and we're going to be talking about Popular Fiction Summer School, which is in the end of June. So
hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, peace out, guys. Thanks. So Dr. Lucy Andrew, thank you very much for joining us on the Shrewsbury Biscuit. We met briefly at Comic Salopia.
We did, yes.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend.
It was an amazing weekend. I was so excited that it was happening at the University Centre, a lot of it. So yeah, I got in on some brilliant sessions there.
Yeah, we were there all weekend. And like I said, we got a few very rapid fire kind of interviews there, but I want to take quite a slow kind of mosey on through what you want to talk about today. But we were talking about the amazing quality of the guests at Comic Salopia, because there were some quite inspiring people like Chip Kidd and Frank Whiteley, and it was a really good weekend. I really enjoyed it, and I took a lot away from it as well. Just do it. That was like the common thing, wasn't it? Yeah. So me and Shane are going to talk to you today about what you want to talk about. You've got well, first of all, let's find out a bit about you.
Okay.
So let's find out about you. So what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a lecturer in English literature and programme leader of the English degree at the University Centre Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
We are still very new, so we opened in 2015. I've been there for 2.5 years now. And basically what I do is I teach people, I put the course together, I do my own research as well, so I do a lot of research into children's literature, young adult fiction, crime fiction. I'm a massive Harry Potter fan.
Yeah.
You'll probably see me walking around in my Slytherin robes quite often.
Oh, Slytherin.
Oh yeah, you have to watch me. Yeah.
That's really cool, because I've got a little 4-year-old boy. As you can see, the toys just dotted all around my house. And I read to him every night, and I found a few books that I really like. And it's because I like to mess around with voice acting and things like that. There's one called Oi Frog.
I love Oi Frog.
Oi Frog, yeah. And if I was to do that on CBeebies, I'd probably get kicked turfed off, because I do the frog in a French accent. I just like it.
It makes sense.
It just makes sense. And I think children's books are it can be quite difficult, because you got to get to the point in a safe manner, haven't you? And like Oi Frog does that very good.
It does. The amazing thing about that for me, I picked it up in Button and Bear, actually, the children's bookshop in town, which is a fantastic shop. It was recommended to me by Louise Chadwick, the owner. I picked it up, I took it into work, and the number of people, adults these were, particularly grown men, who stopped me and went, "Oi Frog," when they saw it. And
they probably haven't even got kids.
No, some of them I don't think have. So. But it's great to be able to take something like that and say, right, let's take this into the lecture theatre, into the seminar room, and look at it, because these things, people think, particularly with children's literature, I think, that it's fairly simplistic because it's for children. But actually, there's some really complex stuff going on here, and that's what we like to sort of dig into.
And that's what I mean. Like in this small book with not a lot of writing in it, like you said, it gets to the point, and it's quite clever how it makes its points. And I think it's great as well to know that when I was a kid, we had the hungry caterpillar and what's the multicolored elephant?
Elmer.
Yeah. They're still writing classics out there. So I'm quite happy about that. What did you find about Oi Frog then? Did you do anything on it? Did you find anything?
Well, I'm taking it hopefully into the classroom next year, because I'd only sort of just discovered it after I'd done my picture book sessions. The whole sort of use of language there is really interesting, actually, and this is something that I think we take for granted and don't realise sometimes about picture books, that the pictures are hugely important, but they're also introducing children to sounds and language, and wordplay and things that there are dual layers in picture books as well, that there's some stuff in there which is much more for the adult reader than it is for the child reader. So we talk about this dual audience when we look at picture books, and this complexity of the narratives as well, that you have 3 key narratives going on in picture books. You have the words, you've got the pictures, and you've got how the pictures and the words interact with each other. Yeah. So while they look very simple, actually there's a lot going on. So that's one of the things that I try and tap into when we look at picture books. Yeah,
it's teaching kids about relationships, and like we've got this book called "This Zoo Is Not For You." And it's about a platypus who rocks up to a zoo, and the guys are like, well, we've got these skills and we can do this, and we're beautiful and we do this, and you're a platypus. And in the end, they were like saying, you can't come in the zoo, you're not welcome here, and stuff like that. And in the end, he was just trying to give them an invitation to his party on his platypus, because the platypus had a platypus, and they were partying on there, and they were like, well, we got the wrong end of the stick, sorry, we'll be your friend. So it's kind of teaching not to judge, in a fun way.
There's a lot in contemporary picture books about sort of inclusivity and diversity, and I think that's really important to get those kind of messages across to children from a very young age, and their parents as well, actually, who might not have been picking up these messages themselves at that age. So I think picture books are doing some really important stuff. There's actually an anti-Brexit picture book.
Really?
I can't remember the name of it, but I saw it the other day on Twitter, which is coming out in October. So I said, brilliant, I need to get that one and take that in.
Do you think that could be, I wouldn't say dangerous, but brainwashing kids for things? I don't know. It's quite easy, isn't it? Just to mould someone into your.
And this is the kind of difficulty, and also the power of children's books. That the importance is this idea of ideology in picture books is very strong. This idea of sending particular messages to children, and sometimes subliminally. Yeah. Because children are very malleable in terms of what they think, what they feel, what they're learning, and they pick up a lot of stuff from this kind of culture. So all books, I think, are trying to get across a particular message, but children's books in particular are trying to disseminate particular ideologies to their readers, even if they're not consciously intending to. And again, that's one of the things that I find so fascinating about studying children's literature.
It is fascinating. Have you got an old favourite I used to read in school?
Weirdly, I don't read very often. I don't read as much as I should. I mean, bear in mind, my sister is a branch manager at a library. So she literally runs a library, and she used to read constantly. She always had a book in her hand, and but I didn't read too much. I'm one of the people that just doesn't go in. I just have some sort of barrier. But I've obviously with now you have audiobooks and that kind of stuff. I'm starting to get into it a bit more, and I'm a bit older, so I'm a bit more committed. I do try.
Well, you use the word "should" there as well, and I think that's a potentially dangerous message that comes across sometimes, is that reading is not for pleasure. Reading is something that you have to do and you must do and you should do. And being a sort of popular fiction scholar myself, and having sort of grown up reading very popular stuff in my own childhood, I read lots of pony books. I read things like the Goosebumps horror series, stuff that my teachers told me I shouldn't be reading, and yet it clearly hasn't done me that much harm.
He's all right, isn't it?
and that's my point about popular fiction, I suppose, is that there's often this kind of resistance to certain types of texts because they're popular or they're not. They don't have that strong educational function, or they're not high art. But I say any kind of reading is good reading. You should read what you want to read, and it can actually be sort of quite detrimental to children to being forced to read, the canon of children's literature, the classics, the things that adults think they should read. And it can be detrimental to adults as well, who are perhaps, the term reluctant reader comes up again. It's not a term that I particularly like. But there is a sense still, I think, of having this kind of canon, these kinds of texts that we should be reading. But I think any reading is good reading.
Yeah.
And that's, I suppose, what I'm trying to get across in my teaching, in my public engagement, to say that all books are good and interesting in some way, and that we should encourage any kind of reading.
Yeah.
And not just reading, Shakespeare or Dickens, for instance.
I mean, I read I think I've only read cover to cover a handful of books in my whole entire life. I mean, you got things like we did Stig of the Dump at school. I mean, we read that cover to cover. And weirdly enough, I actually got a better grade in English Lit than did in actually English in GCSE somehow. But I think that was because at the time I was doing a lot of creative writing, and I used to do role playing and stuff online. I used to do write. I had a character, and I would write on a pro boards, and it would be, you probably heard of them before, where you got you put Joe Bloggs was sat in a pub, that kind of thing, and you sort of write this big sort of post about the setting the stage kind of thing, and then somebody else would come in, and some random person would be like, somebody walked into the pub and saw Joe Bloggs sat in the pub, and then you sort of come roll on from each other, and you kind of just do it like that. And I did that for quite a while, and I actually really engaged with that. That was really good until obviously work started and life, and I just basically ran out of time. I couldn't sit and write it anymore, and I just sort of lost touch with it again, really. But I enjoyed that. That was good.
I find myself reading a lot more now. Excuse me, right frog in my throat today. I find myself reading a lot more.
Is it French?
It's French. It's not a frog. Especially when you get an author on, we've had Lisa Blower on, we've had Ron Morgan, and we've so I want to read what they've written if they're going to come on the show, and and it doesn't, for me, it seems like homework, it seems like, but it's not, because I like disappearing into a book, especially Lisa's about growing up in Stoke and around them kind of how hard it was during the Thatcher era, things like that. That was really important to me. But what you're saying about how finding things for kids to read that they want to read. How do you tackle that? Because you say that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but that's all you got to go on a book. How do you encourage someone to read something about something that they want? That they'd like. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one because I don't have kids myself, and I don't have young relatives. So I'm the youngest in my family, so I haven't ever been in a position, apart from buying books for my friends' children, of directly encouraging children into reading. So it is hard, but I often find myself in bookshops and seeing, because I'm always in the children's section, as I would be, and I see parents with their children. I see children pick up books and their parents say, oh, no, you don't want to read that one. That's too old for you, or it's too young for you, or they've heard of a particular author that they think they should be reading. Or probably the most frequent one is they go back to their own childhood reading, things that they're familiar with, and say, well, I enjoyed this, so you must enjoy it too. And, I do try and push Harry Potter on everyone. So,
rightly so, they're brilliantly written books. They are good.
There is that. But sometimes I think you have to let children decide for themselves.
Experiment.
If they pick something up and they say, I want to read this, unless it's vastly inappropriate for them to be, if there's...
Here's a Dean Koontz model of books. I
mean, if they're 4 and they're going into the young adult section, okay, that's a bit of a problem, potentially. But I think, letting children, and libraries are good for this, because libraries doesn't involve parents, purchasing things or giving their children money to make this decision with. And you often see in bookshops, now here's your £5 or £10, and you can buy one book and it's very important the decision you make here. Whereas in a library, of course, there's not that kind of pressure.
And do you know what? To be fair, librarians have this, you know. My sister often says that, like, you know, librarians are superheroes because, like, you know,
they are.
You know, you can go into a library and you're like, you know, there's a book I read about 30 years ago about war. Right, okay, so which war was it? And then, like, you know, with very, very few questions, you know, my sister can then just walk over, grab about three books, it'd be one of these. And invariably, she's right. You know, she does nail it.
And I think as a child, I used to, you know, I went to my local library. It was just down the road. A lot of my reading habits I picked up from there. I'm a big Nancy Drew fan, the girl detective. And they had a huge number of Nancy Drew books in my library. And I think the reason I picked one up is because I think it was The Secret of Shadow Ranch was the first one I picked up because there was a horse on the cover and I liked pony books. And so that's what I did. You know, I was judging a book by its cover. I picked it up. I read it. I really enjoyed it. I found out I liked detective fiction. I went on to do my PhD on children's detective fiction. But it all came out of me sort of having a preference because I love ponies, picking up a book for the cover
really
and then sort of moving into a new area. So I was very sort of self-directed in my reading.
So do you think that's how this happened? Do you think that was the inspiration then for you to be doing what you're doing now? Was your fascination with reading books about ponies? Sounds very vague.
Yeah, well, weirdly, I think it is because I wouldn't have got into those detective books, which I so love, without having first, you know, had that interest in pony books. Series, I liked series fiction, I think, because I found it quite reassuring to have the same characters and to sort of know what was happening. And to have something, you know, I don't like change. And so having a series with 100 plus books in it was fantastic for me as a child.
Until you get to the end. I've been there.
Yeah.
I read this isn't children's fiction at all. So children, if you're listening, don't read this. But the Sharp books, he wrote, Bernard Cornwell wrote the Sharp books. And there's like 22 and they were quite big books. And I read them all. And when I read the last one, I put it down. I was like, what is life? What do I do?
Yeah. It can be hard when you put a big investment into a series like that and then it finishes and you think... I mean, I sort of feel that with Harry Potter, although there's still a lot of Harry Potter stuff coming out, which is something that I'm going to be focusing on the summer school, looking at those afterlives of the Harry Potter series, which I'm very interested in as a researcher.
Do you think she's going to go out there and carry on? Do you think eventually she's going to be like, okay?
Well, I mean, she keeps saying that she's not going. I personally would like her to go back and do the sort of previous generation, the Marauders, that kind of thing, because I think that's a really interesting story that we've seen snippets of. I'm probably more interested in that than I am in, you know, the whole cursed child.
I want a series just based on Snape. Honestly, he's an interesting character. I love him.
Snape. Well, Draco Malfoy is my absolute favourite character. And I'm attempting my next academic book is hopefully going to be all about Draco Malfoy, but Snape is my second favourite Harry Potter character, and I love Alan Rickman.
Oh, I miss Alan Rickman.
I'm
a big Kevin Smith fan, and obviously he was in Dogma. And I love Alan Rickman. Oh, never ends. I love his. We'll just talk about Alan Rickman for the next half an hour.
Let's do that, I'd happily do
that. So what were you? So I was about to say, what were you like when you were a youngster? But you seem like you really enjoyed kind of sit quietly reading a book. Or?
I loved reading. I was quite solitary. I because I had quite bad asthma as a child. Yeah. In the winter, I was always sitting in the sick bay at school. I wasn't allowed outside, and so I sit there with the books.
Wow.
And in the summer, in fact, I would in the summer holidays, because I had a massive phobia of bees and wasps. I just didn't like going outside. And so I'd creep outside. As soon as I heard a buzz, I'd run back in, sit in my bedroom with a book.
Me and Nancy are calling here. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm not much of an outdoor reader. I was very, very much reading in the bedroom on my own.
Yeah. Again, that's a lot like my sister. So I kind of get that, because my sister would just sit for hours and hours, and she would just smash books out one after the other. She got to the point by the time she was like not even in a teen, she read every single book in the house. My parents had to keep going out and buying books. But yeah, I mean, she was very much like that. We were always outside. I was always outside, getting covered in mud and hurting myself and stuff. And then come back in, she would just sit there with a book. She hasn't moved. She's just like sees me going out. she's coming back in crying, like, and she's just like.
With the Audible's great. Audible's really good, but obviously, like, everything's going digital now. Libraries are, I'd say, they're under attack at the moment. So it's important to kind of, keep things moving forward with creative writing. Like, get out there and just write.
Yeah.
Where do you think it's going to be in the next sort of 10 years or so? Do you think there's going to be less libraries, or do you think it'll come back?
Well, I mean, I think with the libraries, a lot of it is government cuts at the moment, and I've seen it really sort of hard hitting local libraries that are closing completely, or they're running on seriously reduced staff or seriously reduced hours. When I used to live in Cardiff, and my local library started reducing the hours so that there were certain days when it wasn't open anymore, including sometimes at the weekend, which seemed mad to me when closing at 12 o'clock on a Saturday, when that's the prime time that people are going to come. I think it's really important that we fight for libraries to stay open.
Absolutely.
Because as much as we're in the middle of a digital revolution, and a lot of stuff is going online, I think that physical books are still very important. I think that there are certain communities that's the only way that they're going to be able to engage with books, and also to have that space where people can come together and read, and not just young people as well. Anyone coming together for reading groups, that kind of thing. I used to be in a wonderful reading group back in Cardiff, a crime fiction group, and it was at a time when I was sort of between jobs, and it could have been quite isolating. But going and talking to these people who, most of them were 30 years older than me, and yet we had this shared love of crime fiction, and that kind of thing can make a huge difference. So I would hope that we can, fight to keep libraries open, fight to keep that provision.
I think it's really important. I mean, we were talking a lot about this in Comics Salopia. I know comic books don't have the same sort of importance as literature, like through the decades.
But I think they do. Actually.
They do. It kind of, but at the same time, it's the same thing, isn't it? There's nothing better than the smell of a book, or the holding of a book, and like you said, curling up on your bed, and like when I started reading those sharp books, it was my dad that was like, I just broke up from a bad relationship. I'd gone over to see my dad in Ireland. I was kind of heartbroken and stuff. And he was like, "Here, son, read this. You can take it home with you and knock yourself out." And I got lost in these books, and he really helped me.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important, especially for people that aren't strong readers like yourself, Shane. It's like weight training, I imagine. Like, the more you read, the better you get, the better your vocabulary gets.
And actually, you mentioned comics there, and of course, comics, graphic novels are very expensive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my own reading of comics and graphic novels has been through the library, because it's just too expensive quite often to buy these. And for younger people, this is one of the ways in which young people can engage with them. And actually a lot of libraries now have fantastic graphic novel collections. So again, that's something. Sometimes I will still use libraries now for texts that I'm maybe not going to get hold of elsewhere. I think it's really important for those kind of books as well.
Yeah, it is, and I hope that we, by the end of it, people realise how. I mean, we're lucky to live in Shrewsbury, right? Because we've got this great library that no one's ever going to close because it's Darwin's library, whereas like in Telford, you walk around Telford, I mean, I used to walk past Meeting Point House every day on the way to work, and you could just see it, like the library is now pushed to the corner. It used to be this big grand building that you'd walk in when I was a kid, a big high roof, and they renovated all the buildings, and now it's like pushed into the corner, and it's almost like a forgotten relic. And I really just hope that they bring it back, because it is important.
I think it's on a community aspect as well, because I mean, it's not just about the books. It's something I kind of got a lot of insight really, because with my sister running the library, it's a safe place. So you get a lot of people going to the library just because it is a safe place. They can go there. The staff there are helpful. They're knowledgeable, not just about the books or about and that kind of stuff, but about the local area, about local events. They know like everything basically, and you get people that if they are in trouble or whatever, they go to the library and they get help from the library.
Yeah.
And I think that closing those, it's just closing the doors, isn't it? It's closing the doors. I suppose it's the same kind of dynamic as like your local pub. If you've got a decent, good community local pub.
You just compare libraries to
from a community aspect.
I like it. No, I like it.
Because if someone's having trouble and it's not just any pub, a good old school, community pub where everybody kind of goes, and if someone's in trouble, they go to the pub and they speak to the landlady, because the landlady is like one of the pillars of the community, and they just know everything.
I like it. I really like it.
And it's the same sort of thing with libraries as well. But obviously, I think libraries more on a broader spectrum. A lot of people from all walks of life would just go to a library because that's where you can get help. And I think that closing them all is just counterproductive for community on a whole, really. And that's from someone who doesn't read very often as well.
That's really good. I really like that. I really do. So what's going on here then? What are you doing to do your bit?
Well, we have quite an active public events programme at the University Centre, Shrewsbury. The English department we've made it our mission to take over as many of those events as possible. So looking through the brochure, you'll see lots and lots of our events in there. Lots of free events as well. And we have a lot going on. We have talks, seminars, workshops. What's going on in this week coming up is our popular fiction summer school. And the summer school is something that we've been running for a few years now, and we have a different theme every year. But as I got my hands on it finally this year, I said, well, we have to do something on popular fiction, because I think it's important to get that message out there, particularly from a university, to say that this stuff is valuable and that you can be reading this stuff and you shouldn't be, hiding it inside a copy of Shakespeare. It's perfectly acceptable to be reading this stuff, to be studying this stuff. As an academic, I've met a lot of resistance from certain academic communities in terms of, they hear what I'm researching and just laugh at me.
Why though? Why?
Which is, I don't know. It's crazy. I had a weird email a few months ago from a lady who was interested in doing a crime fiction PhD and asked if I'd be interested in supervising. So crime fiction, popular fiction, it's genre fiction.
Popular podcasts as well. They're amazing. And
then I got another email from her a few hours later saying, I've just been looking at your profile and I see you research Harry Potter. And then she went, Harry Potter? Really? I don't think we'll be a very good match after all. And that really shocked me. And I thought, thank goodness that was a sort of lucky thing that she sort of did that before I said yes.
Invested on it,
But you meet this kind of resistance in lots of different areas. So for me, I think having a summer school which is focusing specifically on popular fiction and lots of different types of popular fiction as well was something that was important to get that message out there, that this is perfectly good stuff to be reading, it's perfectly good stuff to be writing, engaging with creatively, and it's perfectly good stuff to be researching, studying as well.
Is it a way to find out what are the perfect minerals for popular fiction? Is that what it is? Is that why? How did this become? How did J.K. Rowling make him all these millions?
Well, that is part of the question. But one of the key things we're going to look at. So we're kicking off on Thursday, the 27th of June, with a sort of evening roundtable session where I've got a panel of experts on popular fiction coming along. To talk, exactly about this phenomenon of popular fiction. And one of the key questions we're going to attempt to answer, I'm not sure we can answer it, is what actually is popular fiction? Because it's a really sort of slippery term. And there are so many different ways that we could define it in terms of genre, in terms of audience. And it's a really kind of difficult thing to get your teeth into. So that's one of the things that we're going to be thinking about at that sort of roundtable panel. We've got Louise Chadwick from Button and Baird Children's Bookshop coming along. We've got an independent scholar, Dr. Sam Saunders, who works on crime fiction. We've got Dr. Poppy Wilde, who is a media and communications lecturer at Birmingham City University. And we also, I'm trying to think who's the fourth person now. Oh, we've got Alex Hale, who's the librarian at Shrewsbury High School. So what I wanted was to get people who are engaging with popular fiction on a day-to-day basis, but in different ways. So that's what that free event is going to explore. And then for the rest of the weekend, so from Friday to Sunday, we have our popular fiction summer school, as we're calling it, which you can book for the entire thing. So it's £60 for the full 3 days, or you can pay per session. We've got a number of seminars, of workshops and talks going on throughout that weekend. And we've tried to make it as varied as possible there. So if you look at that, there might be things on that schedule that you might not think of as being popular fiction. And in fact, when I put the idea out there to some of my fellow academics from University Centre Shrewsbury and over at our partnership university in Chester, they came back with some things that surprised me. And I was thinking, well, is that popular fiction? But actually thought about it and said, well, yes, it probably is.
Like what? What did it say?
Well, people like Haruki Murakami, he's a Japanese writer, who is, not someone I would have thought of, but who has written a kind of wide range of texts in different genres, some sort of sci-fi based, and people also a lot of Victorian fiction we were getting back. So things that, and this is an interesting one, so the Brontes, for example. Now the Brontes are an interesting group in terms of, well, they are firmly within the canon of English literature, those respected authors that we all study. And yet at the same time, there is something about that fiction in its own time. It was, I suppose, popular fiction.
Like Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes. He couldn't get any more popular.
Yeah,
people still read it.
Exactly. And people like Dickens sort of come out under this title as well. Dickens is very respected nowadays, but in his own time, and the way that he published, and the way a lot of the Victorians published in sort of serialized magazines. These were very popular forms that were selling to a lot of people. And these were forms that were often criticised at the time. They were looked down on at the time. So things that we think of as being quite respectable now weren't necessarily respectable in their own time.
The controversy there. Controversy sells, though, right?
So we've got a whole load of Victorian fiction there. So we've got the Brontes, we've got Elizabeth Gaskell as well, and we've got Wilkie Collins, who's the sensation fiction writer. And then we also have some more contemporary people like Haruki Murakami. We've also got Patricia Highsmith, who wrote the Ripley books, The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And we've got a bit of YA fiction in there. So I'm doing a talk with my PhD student on LGBTQ YA. It's actually the 50th anniversary this year of John Donovan's book, I'll Get There, It Better Be Worth the Trip, which is sort of seen to be the first gay YA novel that was published. And so what we're doing in that talk is sort of looking at how LGBTQ YA fiction, bit of a mouthful, looking at how it's developed, where we've come in that time. I'm also running a Harry Potter session, of course, because it's my obsession. So I'm looking on the Sunday. I'm doing a session on the world according to J.K. Rowling, I've called it, looking at Harry Potter's afterlives. So looking at all these things in the Harry Potter universe that have come out since the original series. So the Cursed Child stage play, also things like the Pottermore website, the Fantastic Beasts films as well. Yeah. And looking into that, all that controversy around Rowling as well, in that sense that she has a lot of control over the series still, and that kind of retroactive imposing of diversity in response to some of those criticisms. So there's been a lot.
I love her on Twitter.
On
she's amazing on Twitter.
Yes,
she's one of the best Twitters out there.
She is interesting, isn't she?
I love the way she just slams people when they come up with their own theories. She's like, well, no.
and that, is something we'll talk about. It's potentially, is it problematic? Back in the 1960s, Roland Barthes talks about this idea of the death of the author, that once the text is out there, it's no longer, isn't the product of the author. It's something for the reader to take out and do with what they will.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling is very much I think she's one of those few real celebrity authors who have a huge amount of power.
Immortalised, isn't she?
Yeah, she has a huge amount of power over what goes on in that series, and there are kind of tensions that come up around that idea. So that's something that we will look at in that workshop. We've got some creative writing workshops as well. So we've got a writing YA fiction workshop on Sunday, and on the Saturday we've got a creating a popular character workshop. So hopefully there's something for everyone there. And we do have...
Sounds like something nice. I should we're busy at the weekend, aren't we? We're speaking to the mayor. But it's something like... Because creative writing for me has always been in the back of my mind. And, you know, I've written a first chapter of my first ever book, and it's been sat in a drawer for the last 3 years, you know, because I spent 2 or 3 days describing the glow of the fire on the guy's face. You know, and I was kind of like, this is hard work. So I'd like to learn some technique. Yeah.
And creative writing is becoming a really popular area of study, I think, and we're seeing more and more workshops and university courses, and I think that's a good thing. And for me, you know, reading and writing are part of the same skill set, really. I think you have to be a kind of avid reader to be a good writer, and vice versa, really. And so we try and in our English degree we encourage creative writing as part of that degree, not just in our creative writing modules, but often I have kind of creative assessments in you know, my YA modules or my children's literature modules, and we get some brilliant results from that. We have some brilliantly creative students.
Yeah. You say you used to like writing?
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, like, I think it's also a timing thing as well. I mean, when I was doing my creative writing, I wouldn't have told anybody because it wasn't cool. Yeah, and like, you know, my mates would probably take the mick and stuff like that. But nowadays, people don't care. But it's not that they don't care. They don't. They're not. If anything, it's cool. You know, like when I was growing up, you know, people with ginger were getting bullied. You know, people with glasses were getting bullied. People who were good at school were getting bullied. Mm-hmm. But now it's like flipped. Mm-hmm. It's like it's now cool to be good at school. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's now like, you know, if you come top of your class, they're like, this guy, man, this guy, you know. But like, so it's kind of a bit alien. But I would kind of wish that I was brought up in today's kind of world in a way, because I might have been felt more able to then go into these different sort of...
Well, I think you're beautiful, regardless.
Thanks, man. Thanks. But you know, it's the same in all kind of areas. I mean, I'm a mechanic by trade, and in the mechanic circles, obviously you probably heard of Haynes manuals and that kind of stuff. Well, they're known as like Mickey Mouse books in like in the you know, mechanic world, because they've got pictures. And they're very much like, you know, do A, then do B. You know, it's very, very, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, you don't
like an
don't
IKEA flat pack.
Yeah, literally, like, but I personally, I'm like, well, I learnt a lot actually from looking at Haynes manuals. When I was a kid, my dad used to give me a Haynes manual and just be like, yeah, I'll read that, like, you know, and I'd just be like, all right, so I'd sit there and read Haynes manuals, you know, just because it's got pictures and stuff in it, and I find it a bit easier to connect with. And I think that I mean, I could go on for ages when I talk about like the education system and how it needs a revamp, and there's probably a talk for another day. But like at school, I struggled through school because I don't connect with reading, because I don't, you know, I don't engage with it very well, and I struggle. It meant that I then struggled through school, because essentially, if you can't read very well, or you struggle with reading, especially back then, you kind of just got pushed to one side, basically, and they didn't really know what to do with you, you know, because all the stuff that they had for the curriculum was through text, you know, and it's just like I'm like, well, I can't deal with this, you know.
This is where my kind of move into podcasting kind of plays into creativity, which is why, because one of my favorite people in the world is Kevin Smith, right? And he's not just a funny guy with a flat cap who smokes drugs and is funny on you know, on a microphone. He's a real big advocate for creativity, and he says that it doesn't matter what level you're at. Everybody is a writer. You know, you sit and you write things on Facebook. You write, you know, to write something that is, you know, literate and readable on Twitter these days. You got to put some thought into it. So if you can do that, you're a writer. If you read everything on Facebook every day, you are a reader. There's an entrance point for everybody, right? You know,
it does help people. I mean, when I was doing this role playing thing, I can remember my mum actually saying that she could see a difference in. It's funny you said earlier about you know, the way it was somebody said something about speech and it, you know, being able to you know, your vocabulary's better and that kind of stuff. My speech and vocabulary did improve when I was doing my creative writing. And I, you know, a lot of people said that they could tell the difference. I was using words that I wouldn't even normally use, you know.
Well, my fiance has a fantastic vocabulary. Half the time I have no idea what he's saying. But he learnt most of it from Warhammer books.
Yeah.
That's where he got it from. So he comes up with all these weird and wonderful words. I'm like, what does that mean? It's like I have a PhD in English and I don't know what you're talking about.
The question is, do you actually let him know that you don't know what he's talking about?
Sometimes.
Sometimes
I call him out and sometimes he doesn't know what he's talking about either. But
right, sit there. We're going to get a dictionary. Right, we're going to prove you wrong. So how are things going with this? Have you had much feedback? Lots of traction?
We have. We'd like some more people coming along. Really, we particularly like. Some more school and university students. We've got special rates for school students, for university students. It's £20 for the entire 3 days, or it's half price for single sessions, because we think it's really important to get them in. A lot of our public events so far, we have a certain set of people, I think, that come to them, or we have people that are interested in a particular text or film that we're looking at and come. But what we haven't managed to do that much of yet is attract young people in. So yeah, if any young people are listening, this is me saying, please come along and engage with us, because we've got lots going on. Even if you're not coming to the summer school, we've got lots and lots of really interesting events of things that hopefully you'll be interested in. You know, it's not just the real highbrow, perhaps slightly dull stuff that sometimes goes on in universities. You know, I dress up in my Slytherin robes and we get to read Harry Potter and do wizard duels and things. So there's lots of fun things going on. And I think that's the real key to any kinds of engagement with literature and any kind of education, really, is enjoying it and you know, doing what you love. And I've been lucky enough that I've been able to do that. You know, from my PhD onwards, I was self-funded for my PhD, but that was because I knew exactly what I wanted to do it on. I couldn't get the funding to do that, but I thought I would rather you know, go and do what I want rather than pick something else
be railroaded
just for the
basically.
sake of yeah. And I say that to my students as well, that it's really, we try and give them as many opportunities to do what they want in their own research projects, bringing in their own text. I often have open questions where if they don't like the reading that we've done on the course, they can go and pick their own book and fit it with what we've learned. And I always find that the best results come from independent study and people who have a real passion for what they're doing. And I think that that's the most important thing. If you're passionate about something, then you're going to enjoy it, you're going to learn more about it. And that's what I try and bring to my own courses, and that's what I want people of all ages to bring to this kind of engagement. And that's really, for me, what this popular fiction summer school is all about. It's saying there's some really interesting stuff going on here with the kinds of texts that you actually might enjoy and be passionate about. So do come along and engage with it.
Yeah, I encourage people to get involved with this, because yeah, maybe 60 quid, but do you know what? You're going to learn a lot from this. You know, you're going to get a lot from that. And, you know, if you've got, like me, you've got a chapter up in your drawer that's sat there for 4 years or whatever, then you're going to learn some tools here that might help you be able to create.
Yeah, so and if you're interested...
and you know what? That £60 could turn into, you know, £200 million.
Or you could be the next Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, you never know. Or we actually are offering individual sessions as well. So if you don't want to pay for the entire summer school, or if you're not interested in all the sessions, you can book individual sessions, which are £10 for workshops or seminars, and £5 for talks, or half price for those if you're at school or university. So there are lots of affordable ways to engage if it's just, one creative writing session, for instance.
And how can people find more information about this?
You can find more information on the University Centre Shrewsbury website, which is me desperately digging for the address. www.ucshrews.ac.uk/public-events. Or if you just go to the website, there is a tab at the top for public events, and that will show everything that we've got up on the website at the moment that's forthcoming.
That's really good. So what else are you going to be doing apart from this then? Where, have you got any other events? You said you got lots going on at the university. What else
We have. Well, actually, it's almost our English Literature Week, I think, next week, because we have a sort of more academic conference going on the day before that. So we're going to be very busy, but this is open to anyone who is interested in this, and this is an event on again, I'm digging around for it. It's called A Space of Their Own, Women Writing and Place 1850 to 1950. Wow. And that's a couple of our PhD students are running that. And it is, again, you can book on the website. That's £20 for the day's conference. And we've got some a number of academic speakers here talking on a vast range of subjects there. So that is on Wednesday the 26th of June. So tickets are still available for that. We've also got in our free public events programme coming up on Saturday the 6th of July at 10 a.m. We have a talk on the Brontes given by Kimberly Braxton, who's also taking part in our public events programme. Doing another event on the Brontes. So if you're interested in the Brontes, those are the ones to come to. We've got another Patricia Highsmith event, in fact, coming up on Wednesday, the 28th of August as well, which is another of our PhD students from Chester, Sally Jones, is looking at the talented Mr. Ripley there, doing a session on that on Wednesday, the 28th of August. Lots of stuff hopefully going on from the new academic term as well. I'm thinking I probably need to get a Draco Malfoy talk in there somewhere. So there'll definitely be some Harry Potter coming up in the next year. He's not that
bad. Leave him alone.
He's not.
He's just misunderstood.
Exactly.
He's just got a pain in the butt as a father.
But we will hopefully be doing some more creative writing workshops as well, because we've done a few over the past year and those have been quite popular. So yeah, lots more stuff will be coming up in the public events programme from September onwards, but there is stuff up there on the website to engage.
If you send me any links,
summer.
If you email me any links, I can put them up on the Biscuit
you.
Facebook page. But yeah, this has been really nice. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for inviting me.
And like I said, everyone is a reader, everyone is a writer. You've all got phones that you scroll up and down on, and you all type away on them. So this is just the next step. Pick up a book, guys. I should do too, to be honest.
Do you know what? It's not just about the books either. Because I mean, like my girlfriend reads a lot of Terry Pratchett. She loves Terry Pratchett, like on a supersonic level, and it's actually spurred off because she's very arty, very sort of crafty as well, and she does paintings and that.
Yeah, she painted
stuff.
us a picture for the other
She
show.
did, yeah.
Didn't she?
And now she our house is like covered in, isn't it? It's covered in paintings, and it's all Terry Pratchett inspired. So she's painted like the librarian out of the Terry Pratchett books. She's painted like Death and all these different people, and so just from reading the books, it's then tapped into another outlet of creativity from within her as well. And now who knows where it's going to go next.
It's the same with me. When I was reading Sharp, I can now load a musket in under a minute. I'm joking.
Good to know.
Guys, thank you very much for joining us, and make sure you check out this event. I think it sounds great, and hopefully this show helps people get there and they get something out of it. If you listen to the show and you've gone because of this show, I'd like to hear your feedback as well. If you enjoyed it or not. But thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.